Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Let's seek the truth and travel the long road to justice together. What you know, Alibiers. Welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. Good to have you here on this Tuesday. Hope everybody's had a great day so far. Wanted to hop on and update on some of the cases we've been following. But first, thanks to everybody for donating. Appreciate your support. Also, you guys are buying a lot of merch. I appreciate it. I'm going to be working on some new designs tonight. Don't know what I'm going to do, but I enjoy doing it. So, by the way, if you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit subscribe. I saw a little thing about my account yesterday. 80% of the people who watch my videos aren't subscribed. Hit that subscribe button if you want to get notifications when I do a little short. You hit that little bell notification. It will let you know anytime anything new is posted on this channel. Really wanting to start using those shorts a lot more when there's just little tidbits to talk about, but not a lot for an episode. Music fact of the day, Freddie Mercury. He was born on the island of Zanzibar on the east coast of Africa. He had 4 extra teeth in his upper jaw, which caused not only his distinctive overbite, but also, according to speculation by professionals, this totally contributed to his enormous vocal range. One time he was asked why he didn't get his teeth fixed, and he said he was worried that it would affect his voice, and he was comfortable enough with himself to just stay the way he was born, and I love that. So jumping to the Michael Turney trial, we were covering this last week. I was doing daily updates on this. A lot of you guys had heard about this story years ago and were kind of surprised to see it at trial. As you know, things kind of drop off in the news, cases go cold, and you sort of forget about them until you see something. Well, a lot of you guys were like, hey, I remember this. And yesterday, the state rested its case. And of course, the defense, as pretty much happens in every trial, they ask for the case to be dismissed for lack of evidence. Defense attorneys Jamie Jackson and Olivia Hicks submitted a motion to the judge for an acquittal, citing Rule 20 of the Arizona Rules of Criminal Procedure, which states the court must enter a judgment of acquittal if there's no substantial evidence to support a conviction. The defense essentially said they didn't present any physical evidence that Alyssa had died and that Michael had caused her death. The judge agreed. This is one of those rare times, especially in a murder case, where he said the jury could conclude Alyssa is dead, but there's been no testimony about Michael's conduct in relation to her death. The judge essentially said we can disagree about his parenting style. The evidence presented doesn't show Michael caused her death, and there is circumstantial evidence, but it's not substantial enough to warrant a conviction for second-degree murder. He can't be tried again. It's over. His attorney made a statement saying that Michael was happy the judge saw it his way, and he's excited that he'll be able to get out of custody. He's obviously still very concerned about the case and Alyssa and trying to find who actually killed her. He said Michael may make an additional statement in the future, but right now he's not saying anything. The state also released a statement through Maricopa County Attorney Rachel Mitchell. It says on May 17th, 2001, Paradise Valley High School junior Alyssa Turney poked her head into her boyfriend's woodshop class and said her stepfather was taking her out of school early. This was the last time Alyssa was heard from or seen by anyone. For more than 20 years, Alyssa's family fought for justice, and their perseverance is a testament to the love they had for Alyssa. I'm proud of the hard work by prosecutors and law enforcement in this case. While our office doesn't agree with the judge's ruling today, we respect the decision of the court. I didn't know this, but Alyssa's biological father was in court, and he told ABC 15 he believes Michael is guilty. Michael had been in custody for 3 years awaiting trial for Alyssa's murder. He probably has been released at this point. Sometimes it can take up to 24 hours to process them out. Before he was arrested for her murder, remember, he had served 7 years for the explosives that they found in the house during the search warrant, 7 years after Alyssa's disappearance. And he had been out for 3 years before he was arrested. He's been in for 3 years and now he's getting out. A lot of things just didn't come in, y'all. And I think that that is one of the things that hindered this case. I think the biggest was the fact that in the very beginning, it was just treated as a runaway. She was entered into the national database for missing people, but nothing was done. There was no neighborhood canvases. Nobody was brought in for any formal interviews. They didn't come search the house. They just let it go for 7 years. And then you get these two detectives that come back on. And as we know, Alyssa's younger sister, Sarah, had started a podcast years ago to bring awareness to this case, and it worked. And it breathed some new life in there. Michael was arrested, and I really feel so bad for Sarah. It's one of those things that when I heard the prosecution's openings, I thought this might be a very uphill climb for the state, because in their openings, they said, we have no crime scene. We have no evidence, essentially. I think also the jury not hearing certain things that might have explained a motive a little bit better was a big issue. You know, circumstantially, you look at it, of course, it seems all signs point to Michael, but unfortunately, it's just one of those things. If he did it, he's gotten away with it because this cannot come back to court for him. All right, so I got the Chad Doerman bill of particulars. Remember, Chad Doerman is the man who shot and killed his 3 young sons just in cold blood, left them laying outside of the house. We've seen the body cam video. I've done a prior episode on it, but the bill of particulars gives a little bit of insight into what happened before and during the murders of his sons. A lot of the names in this are redacted, so I'm not going to guess who these people are. I don't want to mess it up. So when I say redacted, that's just how it reads. On June 15th, 2023, Chad returned home from work early and had his family join him in the master bedroom for a nap. At some point after lying down with all 4 of them, he got out of the bed, opened the gun safe next to the bed, removed a Marlin Modern HC-22 rifle and a loaded magazine. He inserted the magazine into the rifle and shot his son twice. Immediately, Redacted began to render aid and yelled for the other children to run. Just prior to the shooting, Redacted had been watching TV in the family room and made her way to the master bedroom and witnessed the shooting. She immediately began to run and indicated Redacted ran the wrong way out of the rear door towards a field. She ran after the child, screaming for him to keep running, and witnessed Chad run after the child and witnessed Chad begin shooting at the child as he fled. Redacted was struck by gunfire, knocking him to the ground. Redacted watched as Chad then approached Redacted. Chad looked at Redacted, turned back to Redacted, and fired one shot into one of the children's head at close range. The mom then fled back into the residence where she picked up the youngest child and attempted to flee the residence with him. As she tried to flee, Chad returned to the residence and heard one of the children crying. The mom immediately began running with one of the boys, and as she approached the road, Chad caught up to her, raised the rifle, and pointed the gun at Redacted. He demanded she put the child down. She begged Chad not to shoot her. She witnessed Chad attempt to shoot the child in the head, but the gun didn't fire, and it appeared he was out of ammunition. The child then fled to his mother, who was in the side yard, attempting to render aid to one of the boys. After Chad held the rifle to Redacted, and I believe this is the stepdaughter, by the way, she proceeded to flee towards the Monroe Township Fire Department. She was stopped by a passerby where she said her father was killing everyone and continued to run to the fire department. Redacted has suffered serious psychological harm as a result of Chad's actions. At some point, Chad went back to the field and carried the child back to the side of the residence and laid his body in the yard where all 3 children were ultimately found. A lot is redacted in this next paragraph, but it says Chad and the mom got into a physical altercation over a child when Chad tried to pull the child away from the mother, going so far as to bite her to get her to let go. The mother grabbed the gun, placed her thumb over the barrel, and Chad shot her through the thumb. After being shot and bit, she dropped the child. During the chaos, Chad also tried to reload his gun. He then killed his son at close range with one gunshot to the head. The child was laid in the same area as his brother and on the side of the residence. After all 3 boys were killed, Chad sat on the side stoop and calmly watched the boy's mother undertake life-saving measures on her 3 children. One child was shot once at close range in the head, and the other 2 boys were shot 4 times. All 3 died as a result of their injuries. Redacted has suffered serious psychological harm as a result of being held at gunpoint, forced to surrender one of the boys to Chad, and witnessing her stepfather execute her brothers. The mother suffered serious physical harm by being shot in the thumb. Chad made multiple statements to law enforcement. I did it. Take me to jail. I shouldn't have done that. He also said in a videotaped statement he had been thinking about shooting his sons since October, and the thought of killing the boys was so heavy he hadn't slept for 3 to 4 days prior to murdering his 3 sons. I just put him under the jail, take him to the town square, and get it done, y'all. When you admit to something like that, I got no use for you. We're going to jump to a call that was released yesterday by Nate Eaton at East Idaho News. It was a call placed by somebody who knew Lori Vallow to Chandler PD. Lori's friend called about comments Lori made about Joe Ryan. This friend lived in Hawaii and said that Lori admitted to April Raymond and someone named Angeline that Lori paid her brother Alex to kill Joe Ryan. The woman was the one who picked Lori and Tylee up from the airport in February of 2019. That was that time frame when Lori disappeared for over a month. Lori asked this woman if she would use her credit card to pay for a hotel room, saying that she would give her cash in return. But the lady was really uncomfortable in doing that and said no. She didn't see Lori after that. The caller says Angeline started talking about this when everything went public with the case, and she actually had talked to Radar online. She said she mentioned it to April, and April said Lori said the same thing to her. The caller says sometimes Lori would say crazy things, and sometimes that would cause them just to dismiss some of the things Lori would talk about. The woman said when Lori moved to Hawaii with Charles, Tylee was staying with Joe, and Tylee came to the island a few months later. She said she knew Lori hated Joe and that Lori was happy when he died. And as we know, Lori was happy Tylee was getting Social Security from Joe's death. Lori said Joe had molested Tylee and Colby, and the caller said she never knew if it was true or not, but Lori would freely tell people this. She said also that hers and Joe's sex life wasn't great. The caller said that she and Lori remained friends and that Lori was hiding out on the island at the time. People saw her. Lori called from the airport, but the lady didn't even know Lori was coming. She said, we just landed. I'm with Tylee. I left Charles. I took $50,000 from his bank account and I'm going to start over. Lori stayed in a hotel that first night. Then we know she went to April Raymond's for a while. But ultimately, April told Lori she needed to find somewhere else to stay. If you remember, Lori told April she was there to gather her and that her mission with her sons was complete. Now, I think her kids were 10 and 12 at the time, and she would need to leave them behind to come with her. April was like, you 50 shades of gray, I'm going to pass. Lori was texting her while she was on the island, and the friend would ask if Lori wanted to walk the beach or go grab a bite to eat. And Lori would always say that she was sleeping or busy. April actually managed a store on the island, and Lori was planning to work at that store, but ultimately April didn't hire her. When asked if she kept in contact with Lori after she left the island, the caller said she barely talked to her when she was there. And the caller actually had heard from Charles that she was at the airport before Lori even called to tell her she was there. That was something new to me. I don't know if I've missed that, but apparently Charles somehow must have found out she was in Hawaii with Tylee. Charles had started calling her, and she said he was kind of like a dog with a bone when he was on to something. She said she liked Charles and thought he was a really nice guy, but he could also be intense about things. Charles called and told her all the crazy things that were being reported, which I'm assuming is that she's translated, he's a demon, all this stuff. April also said she had heard the same things from Lori. When the caller picked Lori up from the airport there in Hawaii with Tylee, Lori says that Charles cheated on her, and the caller said she told Lori she really didn't want to be in the middle of any of it. Now, the caller has a brother who is a forensic psychiatrist, and he said he thought Lori had a psychotic break. When she was on the island, the caller tried to reach out to Lori because she felt like Lori needed help, but she said she knew Lori did not like psychiatrists. Brother was really adamant and said she needed to be committed, and the longer it goes on, the worse it will be. The caller said Lori said this about Joe to at least 2 people. She's asked if she had a way to get in touch with April and Angeline. She said Angeline would probably be very happy to talk, but she didn't know if April would or not. But ultimately, she thought April would do anything to help the kids. And now a word from our sponsor of the week, EasyCanvasPrints.com. Canvas prints make the perfect decor for any home. They're the perfect way to make your best memories last a lifetime. Are you looking to turn cherished memories into stunning home decor? Easy Canvas Prints is the perfect way to transform your favorite pictures into beautiful masterpieces. With Easy Canvas Prints, you can bring your memories to life, adding a touch of elegance and personalization to any space. Whether it's a family portrait, a breathtaking landscape, or a candid moment captured in time, Canvas Prints will make your walls come alive. Ordering your custom canvas print is a breeze. All you do is visit easycanvasprints.com and upload your favorite photo. You can customize the size, borders, and even a custom wooden or metallic frame to create a unique piece of art. Don't wait to elevate your home or office decor with a custom canvas print today. Visit easycanvasprints.com/prettylies for a special offer for my listeners. Get unlimited 16 by 20 canvas prints for only $14.99 each. Again, that's easycanvasprints.com/prettylies. The thing was, April had a bad experience with a crazy ex-spouse taking her to court a lot. She said April would definitely have more information than anybody else would. She gives the investigator April and Angeline's phone number and says Angeline would be very talkative about this. She says at that point, both Angeline and April had moved. April's ex-husband had sued a hospital there in Hawaii, and it was terrible for April. So eventually she moved to the mainland as well. The investigator said with all the media attention, a lot of people are being contacted who knew Lori and Charles to see if they had any insight. The investigator asks if the caller knew if Lori had been seen on the island. So the caller says that a friend runs an urgent care clinic on the island and had seen her there. Someone else saw Lori on the news and said, "Hey, I know her," and was shocked because this woman's daughter is a nurse and said Lori came into the clinic today and I was helping her. This call was placed about a week after Lori visited that clinic, and we know Lori was at that clinic when she and Chad had gotten married and were in Hawaii. So that's the time frame of when this call happened. She said Lori was into the end of the world stuff, and the caller had read one book, but ultimately it wasn't her style. The book may have been something Chad wrote or something affiliated with it. She said she really called to relay what Lori told Angeline in April about paying Alex to kill Joe Ryan. It's not really anything new, but we had not heard that call, so I did want to cover that. We're going to move over to the Portland serial killer update. There's been speculation for a long time that the bodies of 4 women found murdered in Portland was the work of a serial killer. Now, just a little over a month ago, Portland police spoke out against online speculation that the murders could be connected. Now they're saying not only do they believe the murders are linked, they have a person of interest who is in custody, I believe, as of July 6th. The victims were Kristen Smith, Charity Perry, Bridget Webster, and Ashley Reel. They were all found murdered between February and May in different locations. The DA's office announced yesterday, after collecting information from various agencies in Oregon, they have now determined the homicides are linked to a person of interest. The bodies were discovered in Portland beginning in February. The latest body was found in May. One body was found in a creek in Polk County, which is about 45 miles southwest of Portland. The medical examiner has not determined the cause or manner of death for any of these victims. All of the women were from the Portland area. I'm going to be following this and doing a little bit of a backstory on these murders, probably in an episode this week. Really want to cover this closely. This is just kind of the week of serial killers because we're going into Rex Heuermann. This case is crazy, y'all. Very crazy. And actually, there is a tie to a county about an hour and a half from me, Chester County. We'll get into that. But according to the New York Post, Rex had one question for his jailers. Is this in the news? A representative for the New York State Police yesterday updated about their role in the investigation. They were asked early in 2022 to join that task force for the Gilgo Beach investigation. They assigned an investigator full time to work on this. The investigator said in March of 2022 that he had identified Rex as a potential suspect. It was the first time Rex's name had ever come up. The task force went with that and they started to investigate Rex further. The task force moved forward with that information and they determined at minimum Rex was responsible for the deaths of at least 3 women. Investigators have executed 2 search warrants at 2 separate storage facilities in Amityville. They looked at one Sunday, and then yesterday they were doing a search warrant on the other storage building. The police commissioner, Rodney Harrison, told Fox News that Rex had an arsenal in a vault that he had downstairs. They said over 200 guns, but I read a little while ago it could be closer to 300 guns were in his possession in that home. The police commissioner said it's concerning regarding the guns being registered or legal or not. That's something we're still taking a look at. Anytime somebody has that type of arsenal, we have some concerns. He also said that Rex's family is shocked, disgusted, and embarrassed. He said he doesn't think they knew about his double life and they've been cooperative. We do know his wife, Asa, was at that arraignment or that first appearance. It was revealed that before the arraignment, Rex's defense team had only gotten the case an hour before. They have also revealed that Rex had at least 7 burner phones. An old friend and interior designer of Rex's is speaking out. Catherine Shepard spoke to the Daily Mail saying she had been helping him plan to renovate his kitchen back in 2005. He had picked her up from the train station and drove her to his house. She met his wife and kids that day, and in planning the renovation, she wanted to measure the entire house. As she was going downstairs, of course, Rex followed her. She said Rex had a secret locked room in his basement and refused to let her in. He told her the room was full of guns. The room was 12 by 15 feet. She said he was weird about it, but ultimately she said she could measure around it. She actually worked with Rex from 2002 to 2007 in a shared office space, and 2 of those years were in Manhattan. She would frequently accompany him to work sites as a freelance interior designer. He took her to a firing range at one point in the Bronx where he taught her how to shoot a 9mm. In another instance, she slipped and fell on ice, and Rex was the one that took her to the emergency room and then back to her apartment. After he took her to the apartment, he left and got her medication and brought her some food, and she said now that really haunts her. She said Rex was smart, mostly friendly, if not a little socially awkward. She said he now reminds her of the character Dexter, who led a double life as a serial killer, saying you'd never know if you met him. She said Dexter had this normal side and then the other side. She had never heard of the Gilgo Beach murders until an old boss texted her just this past Saturday. What did she do? What we all would do. She got on Google, and it blew her away that her old friend was all over the news. She spent 8 hours reading everything she could about the murders and wondered, how could this be Rex? In another story, a Long Island woman has come forward telling the New York Post that she had a very disturbing encounter with Rex just earlier this month at Brady Park, which is just a few minutes away from Rex's home. She was so shaken over the incident that she actually filed a police report. The woman, who is 25, said she was totally shocked when she saw Rex on the news and told the story that she was going to ride her bike in the park. And Rex came up from behind and asked her what time it was. She said he was so close she could feel him breathing kind of on her neck. He saw the lock screen photo of the woman and her boyfriend and was asking her questions and trying to give her compliments. He asked if she came there often and asked for her name. She said his clothes were dirty, and she said he popped out of the woods, and he would seemingly pop out of the woods everywhere she went. She actually ended up and called her sister because she was so rattled, and her sister picked her up. When her mom showed her a photo of Rex after his arrest, she said she started screaming and got really super nervous, realizing Rex was the same guy from the park. A former FBI profiler told Good Morning America that some serial killers appear to live normal lives at home and at work. They may be married, may have kids, and they totally can separate themselves from their misdeeds. The profiler also said there's a chance that Rex could have changed his pattern after the discovery of the 4 victims back in late 2010, early 2011. Investigators are now looking to see if Rex could be connected to any unsolved murders now that they have his DNA, and also looking at his behavior patterns to take a second look into all unsolved murders and missing person cases in New York City, as well as throughout the entire state of New York. They're also looking into the other remains that were found in the vicinity of the 4 victims he is believed to have killed and dumped at Gilgo Beach. There are 11 other sets of remains in the area, and those cases are cold. They've entered Rex's DNA into the national database, which is available to all law enforcement agencies across the country. Rex's defense attorney, Michael Brown, issued a statement yesterday saying there's nothing about Rex that would suggest he's involved in these incidents. And while the government has decided to focus on him despite more significant and stronger leads, we're looking forward to defending him in a court of law before a fair and impartial jury of his peers. Now, they're still at his residence doing search warrants, looking for anything that might be trophy related from the victims. Some of the items that were seen being removed from his home, creepy stuff, y'all. A life-size doll of a child that was posed, Playboy magazines, film negatives, a poster from the TV show MASH, and also a really bizarre painting of a battered woman. I saw part of it. She has a black eye and marks on her face. We've also found out that Rex had some financial troubles. He's been years late in paying taxes to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars, spanning over 10 years. Nassau County records show Rex had a 6-tier liens filed by the IRS between 2010 and 2021. He owed more than $450,000 for unpaid taxes dating back to 2005. In October of 2022, the IRS filed lien releases showing either he had repaid some of that or no longer owed $215,000 of that tax burden. He and his wife, Asa, currently owe more than $81,000 in personal income tax to the state of New York. He filed lawsuits repeatedly accusing drivers of injuring him in car accidents. He filed 4 lawsuits between 2014 and 2022 in New York courts, accusing drivers of causing him serious and permanent personal injuries. 3 of those cases were either settled or discontinued, and there is one, the most recent, that is still ongoing. In an April 2018 deposition, when asked if he played sports, he said, "Really, the only thing I competed in was competition rifle." Rex actually had planned to retire here in South Carolina in Chester. It's a small town, not even 2 hours from me. I've thought about driving down actually to see if there's any activity going on. We will see. He has properties in South Carolina, Las Vegas, and Long Island. The value of his properties has been estimated to be around $800,000. The Vegas property is a timeshare that he bought in 2005 with his wife for almost $17,000. The plot of land here in South Carolina is worth $154,000. And that's where Rex planned to retire close to his brother, Craig. They've bought up all this land that just kind of is together. And I know that there has been law enforcement presence there. I believe the car, the Chevy Avalanche, may have been confiscated here in South Carolina. His brother, Craig, actually has had his own set of problems. He was in a DUI accident and killed a New York officer and spent time in prison for that. There was a Netflix documentary about these murders called Lost Girls. I'm actually going to watch that and see what they have in there about the case. Now, the thing is this, I don't think we're anywhere close to finding out the actual number of victims that were killed by Rex. I don't know if we'll ever get an accurate number, but I think that Las Vegas, South Carolina, New York, there's going to be a lot of investigations. And with this DNA in that national database, we may start seeing connections coming out left and right. I don't think 3, 4 is his final number. And I really have a feeling that some of these bodies that are up there, the other 11, are going to be linked to him. It's just seems like that was his place to dump bodies. But at the same time, like they said, he could have changed his pattern over time once the initial discovery started happening. So what I'm doing at this point, I'm doing a lot of background research on serial killers, just statistics, patterns, just things that interest me. So tomorrow, I'm going to go through some of the stuff I've been learning about that. I'm also looking through South Carolina records. I have found some property records for Rex. I'm going to go through those and I'm just going to keep covering the story. It seems like things are coming out by the hour in this case. Y'all, this world is full of evil, evil people. All right, guys, that's it for today. We will see you soon.